How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and I'm back today with another episode of Stronghold HD. Today I'm playing mission number 15, Carving a Path.
With the wolf still hot on your trail and your troops becoming progressively more battle-worn, you find yourself in need of a place to hide and recuperate. The Fenlands seem to be the ideal location, but the only way to get there is via the pig's home castle. As the pig is away with his army, laying siege to his stronghold appears to be a preferable option to taking on the wolf. Fight your way through the pig's home county and escape into the Fenlands on the other side. You will need to strike hard and fast before the pig returns with his main force. Storm the gatehouse of the pig's castle with a ram, dispatch the garrison, and hide in the Fenlands beyond.
Let's get started. Okay, now I think it should be noted that I'm actually doing the commentary here post, because the mission itself, this is probably one of the most difficult in Stronghold, mission number 15, if not the most difficult. It's either the first or the second most difficult. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm moving some of my troops over to the corner of the map because the pig is going to be sending out some of his macemen. Now, all I'm going to need to deal with those macemen are my archers and crossbows. So you'll see the macemen coming out of the castle shortly, and they'll be quickly taken care of. Now, the attack plan that I'm going to be using in this video is actually, as far as I'm aware, pioneered by a fellow YouTuber called Lord Balder, and I highly encourage you to check out his playthrough of it. His is a silent playthrough, so I was hoping I could play through it using his same strategy myself and perhaps add a little bit of insight to the strategy, I guess, as well, because I really don't like just reiterating stuff that other people have done. I tried to add value to it, so add a different spin, a different take on it, and I hope that is what I accomplished here. Now, this is the first time I've ever done post commentary, so, you know, let me know how it turns out. If you thought it was good, if I messed up, what did I do wrong? Here we're taking care of the macemen. As you can see, they go down pretty quickly, and you have the archers and crossbows out in front, interestingly enough. Okay, so here now I'm going to be moving to the, would be the north side of the castle. It's a rather interesting perspective, but we're going to be moving up to the big lake part of it. I'm moving all the troops there except for the laddermen, which are going to come into play a little bit later. Now, if you don't move these troops enough to the right side of the screen, I've noticed that the crossbowmen in that tower will end up aggroing onto them if you pay attention to the tower nearest to the my main army at the time. So here I'm doing some stuff with the ladderman. The idea here is it's going to pull the crossbowmen towards the edge of the tower, so that way they don't aggro onto the archers when I use them later in close proximity to the wall of the tower on the other side of that big, huge lake moat. And it was generally successful. You can dodge archer arrows simply by having your unit strafe back and forth really quickly, so to speak. So continuing moving the entire army into position right here. And the idea is I went around the mountain, obviously, because otherwise those crossbowmen in the nearest tower can end up aggroing onto them. But now I'm moving them into position. And the first thing, because you've probably seen there's a big moat there. How am I going to be able to dig all of that up, right? Well, the first thing that I need to do here is get the archers out of the tower right there in the center. So I'm breaking up my forces here. I'm going to be using them. First, I'm going to send the crossbowmen in. Then I'm going to send about 12 archers in. And then I'm going to send another 7 archers in. And they're all basically going to be positioned on the same plot of land. Make sure that they can all fire freely at the archers in that tower. Because if they can't, then you have to tell them to target them. Otherwise, they won't. You'll fail this because you'll just lose too many archers. The accuracy is just terrible if they're not auto-firing. If they can't auto-target the enemy archers, you might as well just give up. So you have to find that perfect piece of land there where all or mostly all of your archers actually have free shot. As you can see, one of mine isn't, but most of my archers have free shot at the enemy archers in the tower, so I don't have to worry about them missing as much. They're just generally more accurate. So I took a fair bit of damage there, and I'm just slowing it down here because I can tell I'm about to finish off the last archer. Now I'm going to target those archers in that tower on the other side of this bluff. Now, obviously, those archers are not within firing range, so my archers are going to be quite inaccurate when it comes to dealing with them. But here I'm splitting up my spearmen into 2 groups, roughly split them in half. So I have 41 in this group, and then I think I have about 37 in the other group. and I'm also moving the ram slightly into position. So half of those spearmen are going to be taking out the moat once we're finished dealing with the archers here. And dealing with these archers takes a fair amount of time because, like I pointed out before, my archers cannot automatically aggro onto them. So they're actually quite inaccurate, and we're just mostly relying on the luck of the arrow to hit them. Just random chance, which I can understand might cause you to have to reload and retry this a few times because you are limited by time in mission number 15, of course. If you do not complete this mission in time, the pig will come and you will automatically lose. So you are bound by time. And you can see I sped the game up a little bit there just in hopes that I could get this over with without the pig actually arriving. This archer is being particularly difficult. As you can see, he's just sitting there with practically no health left, and I'm continually missing him. And I thought I was going to get him because I slowed the game back down again, but I didn't. I should mention that I had to save scrum several times throughout this mission. I didn't want to have to replay easy parts of it again, and there the archer is down. So that is one of the reasons why I'm doing post on it, because I had to reload it multiple times, and it was just a mess generally. Like I can't provide anything really all that insightful when I'm focusing so intently on the game. And this is one of those missions that really requires that. It requires a high level of attention being paid to what's actually going on screen rather than thinking about commentary. So what I'm doing here is I'm moving the spearmen into position for digging up the moat. And you should be noting that I'm actually keeping them very close to the cliff. When I moved them up, I didn't allow them to spread out because they naturally want to do that. I made them hug the cliff as much as possible, and now I'm going to be continually reselecting them, the ones that wander away, and telling them to refocus on the moat area closest to the castle, because there isn't a whole lot of moat that the spearmen actually have to dig through here to make a path to the castle. Now, granted, it probably is more than going through the front, but compared to doing the south side, I want to call it the south side of the castle. It's the other side of the castle. This moat is actually shallower, and it can definitely be completed with, or it can be filled in, a path can be created with these 40 or so spearmen. And you don't use all the spearmen. I think this is important to note because I have made this mistake in the past. If you try to use all the spearmen to do the moat digging here, you won't have any spearmen to deal with the pikemen that are in the courtyard, let's call it, of the pig's castle. Those pikemen have to be dealt with, and most likely your macemen will not have the required health left to deal with them, as well as all the crossbows in the tower. It's not going to happen. So you need to save a good deal of these spearmen if you're dealing with the pikemen. And yeah, so I think I should point out that this is on very hard, and this is the only strategy that I found personally viable. I'm not somebody who's very good at the game, I don't think. I have played it a lot, but I'm not that advanced at playing it, unfortunately. And I think this is the most realistic solution to it. Like, I have seen other people attempt to play it, but they on very hard. That's the point. You can complete it on easy or very easy fairly competently, but when it comes to very hard, there is really only one other solution, and that is to do a lot of cheesy stuff with archers. It requires very precise placement of the archers, and it's just something that I think is a little bit beyond my skill level. Obviously, like I pointed out, the YouTuber Lord Balder has made some excellent videos on playing Stronghold HD on very hard, and he actually has a video of doing exactly that, positioning the archers just perfectly to be able to snipe enemy archers off the towers without them firing back. So if you're interested in seeing how that played out, go ahead and check out his video on that, and I will be linking to his version of this video. And I should note, this is me doing it. I didn't just steal his video, obviously, but this is exactly the tactic he went for, and until I see something better, I can't come up with anything better than this. This is as good as I can figure out how to do it, and I did spend some time looking around. Most of the other strategies don't work on very hard. It's one of the most unbalanced missions. Okay, so here I have actually made it to the wall. As you can see, I could target the wall right there with the cursor. It turned red when I hovered over it. Instead of giving a red X, it gave a red attack signal. So now I'm actually retreating with my spearmen. So that was about all of the moat that I had to actually dig up to gain access to the wall there. And now I have about 13 spearmen left, which is pretty cool. It means that I'll have a total of around 48 spearmen, I think, once I get them all into a group again, which is more than enough to deal with the pikemen, but not by a whole lot. You got to be careful yet. Once the spearmen get, I'm trying to do some arrow dodging here to questionable effect. I mean, obviously I just lost 3 spearmen right there. Now I'm moving the ram, selected the ram, and now the ram is going to be moving towards the wall. That's how I'm going to create a breach in the defenses. Obviously I could have used the tunneler, but the tunnelers can attack. You know, they can be told to attack another unit, so the ram, it really doesn't serve much purpose otherwise, so I might as well just use the ram. I guess I could have used it as like an arrow shield because it can take a fair amount of damage, but it will not protect units that are surrounding it, so the efficacy of that would be in question, in my opinion. I did do a little bit of messing around with the ladders, like should I go ahead and just take the ladders and stick them on the wall, but in the end I decided that the stairs are right next to the wall right there anyway. It's just going to take a second to get up on top of them, and it really doesn't do my melee troops, which comprise the majority of my forces here, any favors to have them up on top of the towers to begin with. It's easier to shoot at them most likely. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it just didn't seem like the better solution. So the ram, of course, is taking down the wall. Rams can take down walls in the original Stronghold as well as Crusader, and there you can see the AI pathing did not realize that I could enter the castle yet. So there's no problem here. It's just that it takes a while for the game to recognize the fact that I actually have created a breach in the defenses. So right there I selected all the other units and I told them to get up on top of that tower. Obviously that was wrong. I just wanted to move the archers and the crossbows up on top of that tower, and the melee units should just move onto the ground right down there. Well, now I'm telling the macemen to move up into the gatehouse on the tower. As you can see, the speed is pretty slow. I play on a pretty low speed. The game has been completed on a much higher speed, but I think this lower speed perhaps gives me the ability to offer a little bit more commentary into what I'm doing here, so I don't think it's an entirely bad thing. I'm moving the archers a little bit back because I don't want them to be first in line when the crossbowmen in the pig's tower on that right by the moat. Once they start shooting, I don't want my archers to be the first to go. I'd prefer it to be some macemen, or even better, spearmen. So I'm getting the archers and the crossbowmen now on top of that tower right next to the breach that I created, and the ram has actually been set up and told to breach the second wall into the courtyard. You can see it's hammering away right there, right by the barracks right now, so that will create a nice little hole that we can get through, because you can't just walk across the walls. In case you're wondering, the crenulations are facing against that courtyard part, and we just can't walk over them. So it's going to require a hole to be created, and then we're going to have to access that part of the castle through the stairs. And if you're wondering why we have to get in there, the answer is that this mission requires that you kill all enemy units in the castle. It's not as simple as simply taking the keep. Now you can see the hole has been created, and I moved the ram away from the wall. Just doing some micro here. Set the spearmen to defensive. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. The tunnelers as well. And the ram doesn't have much health left, obviously, and I'm not sure what to do with it at this point. It's basically just acting as a target for arrows. I took the engineers out of it. There were only 2 of them, interestingly enough, which I found perplexing, because did the other 2 get killed immediately, or was it some sort of bug that allowed the ram to operate with only 2 engineers in it? Either way, it doesn't really matter because you don't have any gold to create additional siege equipment, so there's really no option to use them for anything else. But I figured, it soaks up an additional arrow, perhaps, that is not going to be directed at my other useful units. So now you can see the pikemen that are in the courtyard. They have noticed that my melee units are within range, and they're interested in engaging them. So they're walking through that little breach that I created in the second wall, and I'm sending my spearmen to engage directly with them. I should grab the tunnelers pretty soon. There we go. And also telling them to, and like 2 or 3 of them just got killed immediately as I told them to do that by arrows, but you know, what are you going to do? At least it wasn't my spearmen that were getting hit instead, right? So they served their purpose. My macemen, of course, are heading up the steps right now, and I've had trouble with the macemen in the past because their pathfinding is not the best. Like, I'll tell them to get up on a tower, even though they'll all be in a bundle. Some of them will say, well, I'll take the ground route, and the other ones will take the wall route. You don't want that, so I ended up having to micro the macemen a little bit more than I would have liked. And that's another reason for why I'm playing it on such a low speed. I mean, obviously it can be done without playing it on such a low speed, but it just was not working for me. It had happened multiple times when my macemen are split up without me noticing it when I'm playing it on 50 or so. My my crossbowmen are finally getting up to that tower. I have a few archers left, and the spearmen are still fighting the pikemen. So not a whole lot really going on here. We cleared the gatehouse and those 2 towers right there that led into the inner part of the castle. My spearmen, I keep messing my units up. Spearmen didn't want to engage the pikemen all the time. I had to keep telling them to do it. And then here we have the macemen moving over to the first big tower on the lower side of the castle, the south side, I guess I would call it. To me, that would be the south side. So you approached from the east, I would take it. The north side is where I created a breach, and the west side is the area with the fenlands that you're supposed to escape into, according to the story. So as you can see there, a couple of macemen got left behind because they started, like that maceman right there, he's taking the stairs going down instead of actually, the idiot. Yeah, he's running along the ground instead of running along the wall, even though I told him to get up on the tower. So I don't know exactly why that happens, but it's happened to me multiple times. All my archers are dead, 1 crossbow left, and of course, the other crossbowmen are probably going to kill him quite quickly because he's vastly outgunned, like 4 or 5 crossbows against 1. Fortunately, though, he has the tower defense bonus, and my macemen are actually getting into the second tower here next to the keep with those archers. If you were to attempt an attack from another side of the castle, that's probably one of the best sides to try it, because those archers in the tower are pretty weak. You know, they don't pack the same punch that crossbows do. So if you're going to have to clear out an entire tower before sending in spearmen or whatever to do some digging, that would probably be the ideal location to do it. Obviously, you don't want to approach from the front, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest design flaws of this scenario, because my spearmen are not doing their fighting again, and I set them to defensive. Didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did. Select them again. Let me know. Okay, well, anyway, the design of this map is flawed in the fact that they recommend something that's pretty much untenable, and that is to approach from the front. Nope, they were not. They are set to defensive. They were not attacking the pikemen. It could have to do with pathfinding, obviously, if it was already surrounded, and even though more than one unit can occupy one square, sometimes it's like the AI just doesn't want to do it that way, and they actually want to try to turn them into a formation, but then it never ends up really working out, and then they just spread out again, or they move together again when attacking the unit. I don't know. I've pointed out before that the formations in this game are not very strong, but in general, you can get the job done with it. And there go all the archers in that tower by the gatehouse. So now we actually can move down and along the courtyard, right in front of the campfire to the keep, and get rid of the crossbows inside the keep itself, as well as those couple of pikemen there. As I pointed out before, all of the units have to be removed, so we really don't have much of a choice here in terms of what we can target. We just have to remove everything. Fortunately, there is no lord in the keep, which makes sense. And right there's the maceman doing what he shouldn't be doing. It's like he had a moment of hesitation, thought, I'll go back and across the wall before deciding, hey, you know what, actually it's shorter to go down the stairs, but whatever. So I finished off the pikemen. I had about 9 spearmen left. Obviously, I'm probably going to lose about 5 of these before I actually get them out of firing range. I was just trying to move them towards my macemen. My macemen have cleared out all the crossbowmen, obviously. So now we're going to go ahead and took a look at the time there for a second. As you can see, I probably had about 3 minutes left. Well, obviously more than that, just judging on by the time I have left to comment over this video. But it wasn't a whole lot of time. I had used up most of my time already. So there was a sense of urgency here, even though I was only playing on 10 speed. And that is the reason why this video is only at 30 frames per second, because a whole bunch of it is played at 10 speed. And when you play these older Stronghold games at lower speed, it lowers the frame rate as well, quite unfortunately. So now we're moving the macemen and the spearmen back towards the crossbowmen in those towers in the front of the castle, or the castle courtyard I like to call it. The spearmen hopefully will soak up some of the damage before the macemen get within fighting or attacking range. That was the idea anyway. I didn't just want to sacrifice them for nothing. And this is another area that I started to experience more pathfinding problems when the macemen decided that they would walk along the courtyard instead of actually going into the tower via the stairs. So that maceman, that spearman, I just can't keep track of my units, can I? It's really quite unfortunate. But you can see it's speed 10, obviously, again. And macemen are coming up the stairs. It's pretty slow, but they'll get it done. Obviously, there is no pitch in this castle as far as I'm aware this time. The second time you play it, there is, so you just have to be careful of that. The second time, if you thought that the braziers on the towers and the walls pose no threat, well, just try it next time in mission number 17, is it? This is mission number 15, so yeah, it would be mission number 17. And you will find that the pig can quite quickly reduce your entire army to a pile of burning bones. So I think I've pretty much removed all of the archers in that, the crossbows in that tower. I have only 8 macemen left. As you can tell, I am sort of running out of disposable units here. Not many more of them can die, because once you reach that critical mass point and like all of them can focus on one or like a handful of units, all of a sudden they die much more quickly. It's the whole idea of having half an army go up against a full army, and that half an army is beat in much less time than it would be beating that half an army when faced off against the full army. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but there was some sort of philosophy there at play, and once you drop below that number, it's pretty much game over. Successfully taken the gatehouse now, so it leaves an archer and 3 crossbowmen. Oh, I missed that. How many did I have? You can see that maceman, he decided to go downstairs. Another one is deciding to go down the stairs right now. He just went back for some reason. It's like, can't find a path, can't see a way. There was the entire castle cleared out, and within time, the pig has not arrived yet. But he is quite unhappy. I ended up with 5 macemen and 2 spearmen. So it was pretty close, And like right there, you can look at the time. It's almost out of time as well. So that was the best way I found to complete this mission at the very hard difficulty, because it is one of the most difficult missions in Stronghold HD. Lost 88% of my troops, 16,200 points.
They wreck my home! I hunt them down like the dogs they are, and make them pay long time. First, I'll string them up, then I'll burn their feet, then I'll break their legs, and then...
After fighting from one end of the country to the other, your men are close to exhaustion. So you pitch camp deep in the Fenlands. Many of the counties you have taken have already been recaptured. However, you are given fresh hope upon hearing news that the king has returned.
So that pretty much does it for mission number 15. As you can see, the wolf is taking some additional lands, and we didn't actually capture a county this time. So I hope this format turned out okay. If it was suitable, let me know. If it wasn't, let me know how it could be improved. Still just trying to find a good, decent balance here. So yeah, let me know about that. Otherwise, thank you for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.